and welcome back to my channel. Today is super exciting because I'm finally going to be doing a review video of these Ohuhu markers. Now Ohuhu reached out to me and asked to send me these as a tryout for free, and I was like, yes please, because so many of you guys have recommended these markers as a cheap alternative to Copics. I really love using markers in my sketchbook. My favourite ones are Copics and Pro markers by Winsor & Newton. They are my favourite to use in my sketchbook. Absolutely love them, but so many people said these are a great cheap alternative, so I'm really curious to see them because I have been seeing a lot of reviews pop up in my recommended regarding these markers. So I've actually been sent these, but this video is not sponsored. These are going to be my honest thoughts and opinions about these markers, and I will give a little pro and con list at the end of this video to see how I feel about them. And this one is the 48 colour set that they have sent me, so you get a lot of colours in this. So I'm going to unbox them and try them out and see how I feel. And seeing as though Netflix has just announced that Studio Ghibli is coming to Netflix UK and all the films are coming up, I thought it would be fun to celebrate this momentous occasion by illustrating some cute Ghibli fan art. But first of all, I want to unbox them, I want to do some swatches, and then just basically test them out. So yeah, let's get into the review, shall we? So for this review, I thought it would be a good idea to use a proper marker paper to get the best use out of these markers. So I'm using the Winsor & Newton high quality bleed proof marker paper for this one. I'm just gonna unbox them and do some swatches and see what we think. I like the way that they come in a nice case like this. So if you wanted to put them in your backpack or take them on the go, you've already got a case for it. It's included in the price of the item. That's always a bonus. It seems to be pretty standard with marker pens at the minute, and this is all the juicy colours we've got in here. So I can already see that they've got a blendless colour one in here as well, but I have to admit, my style, I don't really blend markers that often because my style is pretty flat and I tend to use my pencils a lot for blending. That's just how I use markers in particular. But how nice is the pen itself? Like, the plastic is, you can tell it's like, you know, a cheaper plastic. It's not quite as high end as Copics, but they still look really nice, these markers. I like that they're round. We've got a chisel tip on one end. Ooh, is that a brush? Wait a second, I didn't know these were brushes. All the ones that I've seen before have been a nib end and a chisel end, but it looks like they've listened to reviews and they've brought out a brush one. This has made me even more excited. Look how nice these lilac colours look, but they look very similar in colours. I don't know if you can see that, but I'm gonna grab a few different colours out and see how it compares like to the swatch and see how it goes down on paper. One thing I do think that's quite hard with markers is finding nice pastel shades. I always think that it's quite a struggle to find a nice pastel colour. Oh, there's so many nice colours here, what the heck. I want to use them all, but let's just stick with this for now and do a few swatches with these. But in terms of the actual pens themselves, they look really pretty, and I like how it's like foiled like lettering on the Ohuhu. That looks really pretty. Look at that. Oh, juicy. And I also like this little wave detail that they've got going on the tops of the pens. Let's start with yellow. So this is called barium yellow, I think, and this is the chisel. Oh, it's really wet and juicy. That's pretty impressive. Now the nib colour looks really pale, but you have to wait for markers to dry to get an accurate colour because they always lay down a bit differently to when they're dried. But it does look a little bit brighter than the actual nib, but that is forgivable because that brush literally, that's so nice. Now I think that one is more similar to the pen nib colour, so I'm actually very impressed with these so far. It is hard to tell until you use them fully, but these are looking very promising. As you can see, you can get the thin lines if you want, and you can also get the fat juicy lines. Like I always say whenever I do my marker videos, is it's always good to do swatches before you lay it down on your final piece anyway, because they do change depending on what paper you're using and what sketchbook you're using and stuff. So it's always a good idea to do a little swatch in the corner. That tends to be what I do. It's a habit of mine now. Whenever I do a marker drawing, I always tend to put a little patch test in the corner, if you like. That is a little bit bolder than what I would call personally a pastel pink. For me, pastel pink is kind of like this colour right here. Oh, it really is very kind of juicy. I've been really digging blue lately. This looks like a really beautiful colour called Sky Blue. Ooh, I like that colour as soon as it goes down on the paper actually. That looks really nice. Ooh, this colour is beautiful. It's giving me a lot of texture, and that's what I absolutely love about markers. I love the paper grain that comes through the marker itself. I think it adds so much to an illustration. I personally am a huge fan of textured illustrations. Let's do some more swatches over here of some darker deep colours. The darker pigments do seem to lay down very, very wet. I don't know whether it's because they're dark so it just feels a lot wetter than they're actually laying down, but here is a swatch of just these colours that I've got out here. Overall, I'm pretty impressed. Does the colour match the nibs of the pens? No, not really, not exactly. The coral pink is now, or the pastel rose is, no, it's still a bit, can you see? It's still a bit brighter than the nib colour, and it has had a while to dry, especially at the top here. I would say this is fading to kind of look like that. The nib colours are slightly off, but in general, like I say, you would do a swatch in the corner of your page before you laid this down just to get a feeling of the colour. I am so excited to just freaking draw with these right now that I just want to get straight into sketching and into illustrating something. So I am going to peel this page back. This is the beauty of proper marker paper, by the way. This is a Winsor & Newton thing. Look at this. No bleed. Next, I wanted to try out blending for you guys. Now, like I said earlier in the video, I don't really use blending with markers very often in my work. I'm not sure why. Don't ask me why. I have no idea. I've just got used to laying down the markers flat like a wash, kind of similar to how I use watercolours. I use it as a wash and then I kind of add pencil over the top to add details and stuff. But for the sake of this video, I wanted to try and blend some for you guys, and to be honest, I failed quite miserably. It was really, really hard to blend them, specifically these purple ones. I found it quite difficult. They didn't really blend as well as I thought. Now, the pen laid down really juicy, but the blend mark was still really, really obvious. Whether I'm not blending right, I don't know. You guys let me know what you think about this. But I personally didn't think these blended together as nicely as, say, like Copics do. I've seen artists use this kind of blend effect in their marker work, and mine looked nothing like it when I was trying to blend it. I might be doing something wrong here, but yeah. Oh, also, this really annoyed me. This splatter when I opened the pen. This happened on numerous occasions throughout this video. I like opened the pen, and because they're so juicy, it just would like put splatters on my paper. So just be careful if you're doing like a final illustration with these and you open your pen in front of your paper. Maybe that's a rookie mistake on my behalf, but yeah, didn't like that splatter effect. Overall though, I actually found that some colours blended better together than others. As you can see, the blue on the top blended a lot better, the greens blended well together, and the orange and the yellow in the top right hand corner also blended quite well, but the purple didn't blend well. And yeah, my overall, I'm kind of mixed between the two. I'm not quite sure if it's that great for blending. Maybe if you're into that sort of thing, it might be better to get something like Copics, but for the price range, I don't know, I can kind of overlook it. I personally can anyway, because I don't really use it in my work as it is. So once I kind of did my sketch, it's Kiki from Kiki's Delivery Service, which is one of my favourite Ghibli films, by the way. I also really neatly lined up all the pens and it looked so satisfying, so I could just grab them and do swatches in the corner. There was a few things that I found with these pens, and I'm going to go into a kind of pro and con list. As you see, when I open this blue pen, a splatter happens on my illustration again, and I didn't learn from the test. I was so annoyed with this. I couldn't believe it. Thank goodness I could kind of cover it over because Kiki's dress is dark. But yeah, let's just get straight into the pros and cons I found when using these marker pens. Let's go into the pros first and foremost. So Pro number one is that they are nice and juicy. These pens are really, really juicy, and I really liked how they went down on paper, which is pro number two. The laid nice on paper. When you did like a wash like the sky, because it stayed a bit juicy, you could kind of get some more even lines. I know some cheaper markers, it's hard to kind of avoid those streaky lines, but the juiciness of this pen kind of helps avoid that. At least I found anyway when I illustrated this sky. I really, really liked that. Another pro is the brush tip is actually fantastic for the price point. It's pretty hard to get value markers with a brush nib. They usually have chisel nibs when you're buying like budget markers, but I found this to be a huge pro in my opinion, to have that brush option with a value marker like these pens. Probably one of the biggest pros for these markers is obviously the price point. When we just take a look at the difference of prices between the Copics and the Ohuhu markers, or Ohuhu, sorry if I'm saying that wrong, it's actually phenomenal. Like, you are saving, not only are you getting 12 extra pens in the Ohuhu set, but you're actually saving £139.01, and that is apparently with a discount already off Amazon. This is the closest I could find to the 48 colour packs for Copics. I mean, that is absolutely crazy. So the huge pro of these markers, considering they've got a brush tip end, is the fact that the price range is exceptional in comparison to the professional Copics. With that being said, I still want to run through some cons. So I want to be honest with you guys, it wasn't all rainbow and sunshine. And I just want to go through a few cons that I actually found when using these pens. So con number one is some colours in this pack were actually very similar to each other. I found it quite hard, specifically the browns in general. I found it really hard to find like a suitable broom colour for Kiki. The colours and the shade variations weren't that great. And con number two, talking about shade variations, is there wasn't any really nice pastel colours that I liked in this set. I really did find it hard, and I tend to find a lot of budget markers quite hard to find those beautiful pastel colours. That's something that Copic does really well. They do some beautiful pastel tones, but here I've really struggled to find really light, soft pastel colours. They were very limited in this colour pack. Which actually brings me on to con number three. Here you can see me using a pencil, and it's because I couldn't find any suitable skin tone shades for Kiki. There wasn't many variations of skin tones, and I found it a real struggle, and the skin tones that I did find were kind of very orange. Now, they have actually sent me a skin tone pack, but it's not on sale at the moment, and I'm just judging it based off this 48 pack that they've sent me. So there is a skin tone pack coming, and I will do a review video about that, but within this colour set you would expect a few skin tones to be put in there, and although they have put a couple in there, I would say that they're very bright and kind of orangey and not very nice really. So I'll be interested to see their new skin tone pack and see if they've actually resolved this. I do think they are listening to the customer base and really try to improve the product, so quite interested to try that out. That also brings me on to another con, which is they're obviously not as blendable as other markers. This isn't actually a con for me, but it might be a con for you. I know a lot of people who use markers in this way and they blend the colours together, so if you're one of those artists who enjoy using blending with markers, then these you might struggle a tiny bit with these. And the final con was the splatters of ink when the lid got took off. I've mentioned this several times now in this video because it did actually splatter on my final piece. You can see a few dots on my illustration here, and that was kind of annoying. You'd have to remember not to kind of open up the pens. Maybe it's bad practice anyway to open up your pens on top of the illustration, but yeah, that's pretty much all the cons. That being said, I wanted to get down to the final verdict of these pens. I actually really enjoyed using these pens and I would use them again. The thing that I found lacking was the choice of pastel colours, and you guys know I love me some pretty pastel shades. Also, the skin tones were lacking, but overall I actually think they were fantastic pens for the price range, and I have to be honest and say these are probably the best marker pens I have actually tried in terms of budget markers due to the brush nib and the way they lay on the paper. If you used to Copics and you already have a collection, would I say these were better? Definitely not, but I don't feel as though they are marketed toward that audience, and they aren't in direct competition with Copics. Instead, they kind of stand above the crowd as one of the best budget markers you can buy, and I would actually highly recommend these to anyone who wants to expand their marker colours, or perhaps wants to try marker pens without taking out a second mortgage to get a feel of them and see if it's something they would like to use in their future art and the future illustrations. When I started out with these with markers in general, I started with budget Spectrum Noir pens I got from Hobbycraft, and it kind of went from there, but these are definitely some of the best budget markers I have ever tried, and have tried quite a lot now. What did you think? I enjoyed doing this review. I've been so looking forward to using these markers and trying them out. I hope you really enjoyed this review, and let me know in the comments if you have any suggestions for art supplies you think I'll like and you'll think I need to try out, because I'm totally down for more art reviews because I find them so fun to do, and I hope you find it fun to watch them. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you all very, very soon. Alright then, love you.